evening, Trinidad and Tobago. Welcome to another edition of Scoreboard here on ACT, and it's always a pleasure every Tuesday evening where we come to you and we talk sports. Tonight, my guest for tonight is former Trinidad and Tobago female athlete AYANNA Hutchinson, BRITON.
Yes, sir.
Well, I had to make sure I remember that last name. Welcome, it's a pleasure.
Thank you.
And the ever-popular CEO of Rep 868, Dennis Allen.
Hey.
Welcome, Lady Jed. First of all, let me say a big shout out and a congratulations to Akim Stewart.
Yeah.
And
Nayosha. Kane Claxton. Yeah.
Before we get into our topic tonight, I just want to mention Akim. Never seems to amaze you.
Yeah.
He just
never ceases to amaze
you. He always
shows up at the big time.
Exactly.
Yeah,
and you know, this morning I was studying, you know, he take parts in events outside the
Yeah.
And sometimes I wonder, this morning I was saying, I wonder if those outside events that he comes up against these other stronger athletes makes him so invincible that he could go there when he reach in with his people and compete that way.
You know what? I don't think it makes him, in the sense of where he coming in at a deficit when it comes to able-bodied competition.
Yeah, because he has to put out a little bit extra.
No. I saw him at a competition earlier this year, and he was competing against Ezekiel Romeo and Quincy Wilson, and he was on par with these guys. So it is that his disability definitely didn't seem like it played into how strong he was. He was able to compete with these able-bodied athletes. So when when they come up against that kind of caliber competition, you don't see the disability, you just see an athlete. So when he actually gets to compete with an athlete, athlete with other disabilities in the Paralympics and the Pan Am, it would look like he's head and shoulders above everybody else. But when you talk about just general athletes across the board, he's one of the most competitive athletes out there.
Yeah, you know, the reality is he does have a disability, right? But in terms of the shot put, discus, you have a little weight difference, but in the javelin especially, he doesn't have the crossover because of the leg differential. So his technique is different, except for discus and shot put, not so much. But definitely he is one of our most successful, most amazing athletes ever. You know, look at his gold medal stash from London, from Rio, from down this Parapan, and now heading into Doha and Tokyo. It's clear that we have a really special athlete here. I think we were having a conversation on Facebook earlier today. He doesn't get the recognition
I was not going to ask
for his accomplishments as a para-athlete. I think mainly because of the politics. You know, the TTOC does not run para-Olympics or para-athletes. So that's a different organization, and I think the organization definitely needs to get behind their flagship athlete, Chantal Ince, Nayosha Kane, which we mentioned, who we mentioned earlier on. You know, they haven't really been doing as good a job, but of course limited resources. But the national community needs to get behind these athletes because they're world class. You know, they're in a different area of the sport, but clearly they're beating everybody. So you know, big shout out to Akim. You know, he's one of my heroes. I see him as definitely one of the athletes that I would point to any day. You know, whatever in front of you, you had to get over it. No excuses. Show up, and he's Mr. Big Time.
He's one of those athletes that definitely perform.
World record, world Pan Am record. Every time he comes out for a big show, he always brings his A game. So definitely big shout out to Akim.
Well, we really want to chat tonight. We want to go back a bit to our performance at the senior champs leading into the Pan American Games in Peru. Was the national championships performance what we expected, and did we go into the Pan American Games expecting more than what we actually got? Or were we in some areas a bit disappointed with some of the performance?
You see the politics in that answer. Let me jump in here.
Yeah.
And you're a former athlete. You're one of the pioneers in women track and field in Trinidad and Tobago.
Okay.
You know, certainly you would have been at all the major events. Something I was talking about with somebody else is, as a track and field athlete, each meet doesn't really matter in terms of your target meet for the year. So if you have your target meet for the year as World Championships 2019, doesn't matter what you run, what times,
leading
because
up into
you going for a podium at one meet. So you gauge in everything else. So yes, we as the looking on and the sports fan and the commentators, we watching and saying each race AYANNA Hutchinson running or Michelle Lee or whoever running. But you running your program.
Yeah.
Whatever times don't win the races, you know. You know, and watching what, it doesn't matter what time you run. It doesn't matter if you run
is it that you have to run a certain time to qualify for events?
In most cases, you have to have there's a qualification standard, most cases. But what tends to happen is athletes usually go into their season not planning for the year, but planning for a 3-year, 4-year period.
Okay.
So you're, let's say the last cycle would have been Rio, right? So athletes would have been like, all right, so we gauging ourselves, we're coming from Rio, we have World Championships in London, we have Commonwealth Games the year after, and then we're going back into Doha, and then we're going back into 2020 for Tokyo. So they have their gauges. So it's not necessary to run fast during specifically a Commonwealth year, but you're gauging yourself, pacing yourself throughout those 4 years to make sure that you stay healthy, make sure you get stronger as the years progress. Because leading into, let's say, for some reason, this World Championships, leading from this World Championships into Rio, into Tokyo is a lot of stress, a lot of preparation is going into these 2 years leading into the Olympics, because a lot of people are trying to get their qualification standard early as far as the Olympics is concerned. So you're trying to get your best performances within the 2 year, the latter 2 years, as opposed to the first 2 years after the Olympics. So when you're looking at that perspective, then the times really don't matter. But now with all these different rules and regulations, you're looking at the times playing into factors as to how much points you progress, how much wins you make, leading on to your ranking, and all these different things coming into play. Now it's not just cut and dry to say, well, I had the qualification standard and I could go. It's a lot more politics, there's a lot more red tape involved in actually making a national team now, and to me, it's a bit crazy. No, I couldn't make a team now. Honestly, I couldn't make a national team right now.
Whatever. I don't believe that. I seen you. But you know what, though, George? I think a lot of the fans need to understand this as well. Where is the World Championships? Doha, desert, hot sun. That's why it's so late. So the politics of the sport, you want to include new top dollar sponsors, new top dollar investors, and clearly Doha, the Emirates, all of these Gulf states, they're part of that new sport paradigm. So we had to get accustomed to late or very early. So a lot of the motor sports, it's Doha and places like that in the Emirates and Dubai, they're the early season, because from the time that summer hit, you really didn't want to be out there. Now Lima was a little bit of a weird kind of thing, because this is Lima's winter. So we had summer games in winter temperatures. Usually it's not that cold, but if you look at every one of these athletes, social media, you see them in gloves, puffy suits, they were freezing out there. So the times, the air is denser, on the cycling track, the air density would affect your times. So I'm not so sure about how much it would have affected in terms of your actual race time, but your race preparation, you're getting cold, quick, and not cold, right? So a lot of the times weren't great. So, but if you look at the results, two things stand out. One, the medal goes to Trinidad and Tobago. If you look at the list, yes, your name is there, but the first thing they say, Trinidad and Tobago. They don't play the Michelle Lee personal hype tune off of her beats, a headset when she's on the medal, the podium. It's Trinidad and Tobago anthem. So their win is our win. We have to get behind these athletes. And the other thing is, it doesn't matter what time. a gold medal doesn't say, you know, the time was slow. Yeah, it was really a world lead time, you know. It doesn't matter.
Only the track aficionados, the diehards will be like, well, yeah, she ran a slow time, but it doesn't, they'll be like, but she
once you win, yeah, you know.
Win though. But it will be like, all right, so she ran the slowest time in the past. The winning time was faster than the time she ran in the heats, but all the people who into the sport know the different factors that play into a final race or a time, or whatever the case is. So we don't really look at it. It's obviously once the time is exceptional, then you kind of make a big deal about it. But once the time is just random day, 11-1, 11-2, well, now it reached the point that everybody and their mother run in 10-9. So if you're like, if you run slower than a 10-9, like, well, don't matter. But if you run like a slow time, like you run 11-6 and win a medal, they'd be like, so the competition really wasn't that. You know, things like that we take into consideration.
The USA and the B team.
So it's all these things that's come into consideration. So when you're looking at the bigger picture, these little issues don't really matter. Because like I said, like, everybody working with a long-term plan, a long-term goal. So it's just to the progression that they're going through right now. The performances in Lima really weren't, honest to goodness, really that spectacular. It's just that the fact that we had some really world-class athletes competing there, and under normal circumstances they would not have been there, but everybody's going to these different meets with a game plan in mind. Everybody looking towards Doha and everybody looking towards Olympics. So you will find that everybody trying to get every little small meet that they can to get in a race, because you don't know what the next season may hold. Like, you don't know which races you may be invited to, which races you have availabilities, and these kind of things. So it's just, everybody is just on the A game for the next 2 years, this year and next year for sure.
And one other thing I want to mention too, Trinidad and Tobago track and field always sends our best athletes, regardless of what. Unless somebody's sick or injured or ask for some other exemption, we send in our A team. But look at the number of athletes, A, who not competing based out of Trinidad, and B, who are based in colleges abroad. Their season start with indoors, and then they come into, they peak in for sectionals, and then they peak in for national championships, and now they come in for open championships, because if you don't compete here, you ain't getting a spot on that plane. And then you had to go, so the peaks and the troughs, it's really difficult to manage all of that. That's why you see a lot of the athletes, some of the college athletes especially, really not competitive at this time. So all of that has to be taken into consideration into how we prep our teams and what our expectations are.
I know we need to take a break. When we come back, I want to touch base on some of the individual events and athletes, and maybe, you know, because one of the events that I really was holding out for a gold medal was the 4x4 men's, because I really thought that they would have, you know, come out and blaze the track. But again, as you said, many little instances that could have caused that to happen. So we chat about that when we come back. Viewers, you are viewing Scoreboard in ACT, and we'll be right back after this short break.
God give me serenity to control my energy. Ready to fight with every ounce of me. This is our destiny, to show the world just who we be. Now I spread my wings, I'm going higher now, yeah. And there's no time to think, there's no time to blink. We gotta make it somehow. I'm going forward, yeah. I'm going all the way. The red, white, and black, there's no turning back. In the name of love, yeah. I'm going forward, yeah. I'm going all the way. The red, white, and black, there's no turning back. In the name of love, yeah. Now the worldly race is on, anxiety so strong, but we'll weather the storm. We are united, standing side by side. We will not be denied. Our passion comes from deep inside. And as we claim the victory, our names remain in history. going higher now, yeah. And there's no time to think, there's no time to blink. We gotta make it somehow. I'm going forward.
Welcome back, viewers. Welcome back to Scoreboard ACT, and anyone of you could jump in here now. Now, we know for a fact that Michelle and he would have done well, right? But let's take Kellyanne, right? I think she finished 8th in the finals, right? In one of the races, Marshall Sidonio, he pulled up. Now, we could go back to what we were talking about earlier. The conditions, you know, could have played a factor in all these things. But are there any one person or races that we were a bit disappointed, that we felt that, you know, a better result could have achieved?
You know, the only, if I had to say a disappointment, it probably isn't the right word, you know, because I really felt it for her. I think it's Portia's. You know, Portia's Warren in the discus, she had 3 no throws. And that, to me, it was so many different factors. You know?
That was her first major
senior international.
Yeah, so
right? If you don't count,
there are a lot of factors could have come in there.
Right. So if you don't count the NCAAs, it's definitely, because that's as far as I'm concerned, that's an international meet, right? That's a major international meet. NCAA finals is a major international meet. The ranking points definitely are pretty high as well. So I felt it for Portia's because I know she had more in her. I know she is not going to be happy with that. She's, of course, the kind of athlete that really brushes it off and she doesn't show her pain. You know, so if you watch her on social media, you're waiting to see her blink, she'll be like, you know? So for that, I felt it. Another person I really felt it for is Tyra Gittins in the heptathlon. You know,
I really thought
leading after day one. But
because,
you know,
I was still trying to figure out what went wrong for her because I know she had some trouble, I think, in the long jump.
Right. Yeah.
But then watching this meet, I think there was a lot of issues with this whole meet.
Yeah.
From day one, the long jump board was giving trouble, and it's like even the announcers, the broadcasters were like, "Well, why? They're showing the issues. Like, so why they don't fix what's going on?" And it's like, I'm sure some people are complaining about this, and if it affected not just one person or one event, but it affected the entire competition. Every single time that pit or that board was used, it was an issue with certain athletes. So her performance really, that hurt my heart, seeing how she just...
I really thought she would have won, you know.
At least she would. I was having her to medal, for sure.
Yeah, you know, she had surgery, right? So she had a little broke her foot thing she coming back on from. So in my mind, I was like, please don't blow out the knee. Please don't blow out the knee. And, you know, at least she didn't blow out her knee. You know, she got a muscle pull and, you know, she has so much ahead of her. I think she just really had to make a executive decision to pull out, you know. As far as I understand, she had a little tweak in the 200 meters and from there it just went downhill. The last 2 events, her 2 weakest events, the javelin, the 800, so she did a lot of work. You know, I follow this athlete, I follow most of the athletes online, right? But watching her preparation, coming back from surgery, her mental state, her whole attitude towards training, I was really waiting to see you know, this Jamaica bobsled team moment come out as the winner. You know, I really wanted to see that win for her. Unfortunately, it wasn't meant to be. But this is not the last we're going to hear about Tyra Gittins for sure. You know, the youth power at the highest level in the heptathlon is really going to be interesting to see her throw her thing into the mix there. So those two performances really stood out. Kellyanne, as you mentioned earlier on, Kellyanne is not a spring chicken. Obviously, Kellyanne still has Zos because she came out of the blocks really fast with her first meet. Since then, I think it's just really about the phases that she has to go through. Kellyanne, this is not her first rodeo. She is looking at the big wins. So yes, Pan Am Games is a big win, obviously. I don't have a Pan Am Games medal, right? So the fact is, nobody goes out there thinking, you know what, I just go and show up. I need some stamps in my passport. You know, this will be a good line. Nobody does that. We always go out, all our teams go out there to put on the best that they can, you know, and we saw a lot of personal best. We saw like Tanya Nero, we saw some very close season's best, very close performances. You know, another athlete who I think would have been really struggling with that same board as you, and really right, you know, and really came in. A lot of hype, a lot of expectation because he had a new national record coming out of Open Chance. So, you know, you're thinking, yeah, this kid is going to fly. Yeah,
and this is his first major...
major international, senior international, is it? Might be? No? He was in NACAC.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So, yeah. But I think...
yeah, because I think it's there he broke a record.
Yeah, he qualified.
So that would have been NACAC under 23. Right? So this might be his. No, he was in NACAC last year for the senior NACAC. Yeah. So that might have been
different. Second or third.
But this is certainly a young athlete knocking on the doors of a major accomplishment, and I really want to see him do well in Doha. But like, you know, let's get real here. Tokyo.
Everybody prepping, you know, for Tokyo. So even though the Doha has a lot of hype as a world championship.
But I guess when you look at it from 8 medals in 2015 to 13 medals in 2019, I mean, it's a huge achievement. Yeah. But Ayanna, we know in your time you all had a lot of difficulties in the sport of track and field. We are seeing now some young, promising athletes that coming up, not only in track, but in the field events. Nobody will want to see these young athletes go through what you all went through. How do we make sure that these young, promising, and when you were here the last time, Dennis, you spoke highly of Elcock and those young athletes. How do we prevent these young athletes from going through that period where the former athletes had all these issues? Because the less issues you have is the better you perform. You have nothing to worry about. How do we get away from that?
What was the worst thing that happened to you that you had to deal with? Just one.
What?
Just show me one scar. What was the worst thing?
Sleeping in the airport?
What is it?
I got flashback there, yes?
All the flashbacks.
Yeah. To me,
we didn't ask for the whole.
Yeah, no.
The pain is flashing behind.
It's a lot of stories. Yeah. But to me, the worst thing that has happened to me personally is showing up at the airport to go on a team and then finding out that you're not going anywhere. Bags packed, you're in the airport, ready, passport in hand. And so we only taking 5 all year and everybody else go home.
I heard about them things. I cannot imagine. That drive back home from Piaco. I cannot imagine.
And I'm really glad.
That's what we call a sprint.
Listen, those kind of situations definitely make you mentally tough.
Okay.
And it makes you understand, especially if you go from being a local athlete going into the collegiate system or even turning pro from a young age or whatever the case is. When you go out there, you understand how things supposed to go, how things are supposed to operate. And when you come back home and you see the BS, and you are like, no, I'm not dealing with this. This is not supposed to happen or whatever the case is. I'm glad to see issues like that don't happen anymore. You know what I mean? At least, if it's either no pick me, you know, tell me I didn't make the team from the get-go, as opposed to wait until I reach in the airport and I know I had the standard.
So the team was already picked at the airport then?
Apparently it was, but
this is happening with football. Remember that happened with football the other day?
So it's hard.
Like, just leave that as that. It is not such a distant memory, because AYANNA is not no aged person. I had a gray hair inside here, right? Now, when you look at the youth programs, yes, the entry gets a lot of knock because they don't run in the youth programs, but the clubs are. You know, the clubs are, and they have schools, they have different things, they have other people. It's not
it's not a dictatorship.
Yeah, to me, the entry's role is policy and support. You know. It's not to say, okay, we have 5 coaches on the board, let's go and run, everyone here, go and run a sprint camp, a throws camp, or whatever. It's not like that, right? So let's put that out of the thing. What is really important is to continue building the sponsorship support, the corporate support, and the institutional support. Make sure coaches get certified. Even though a lot of times, like when I coached basketball for 12 years, I didn't have coaching certification until late into it. I buy a lot of books, I sit down and I read. Now, I think there are a lot of coaches who could learn a lot from YouTube. You know, the university of YouTube is really important. But you know what? No matter what coaching academic background you have, no matter how many books you read, you have to coach an athlete to learn about your sport. And if you're not coaching an athlete, and there are too many certified coaches who not coaching in clubs, they're doing nothing with it. You know what I would like to see? I would like to see more of it. People talking about the club structure, this, that, and we don't have schools, and we don't have what Jamaica, and Jamaica is like, okay.
Jamaica is Jamaica.
Jamaica doing what Jamaica doing. Jamaica watching Cuba. Jamaica watching USA. The Bahamas watching Cuba, Jamaica, USA. You know who watching us? Guyana. Guyana get some oil there. They watching like, we want that what Trinidad and Tobago have, and it'll be quick. You know, another sport we love, George, cycling. Look at what's happening. The youth World Championships was just the other day. India won so many things. Why? Because New Delhi had the Commonwealth Games, and they had to build a velodrome. It had no other velodromes in India before that, right? But they built this velodrome, and all of a sudden you have Karen, sprint, the sprint. Team Sprint World Championship, Junior World Championship is India. Who would have thought? Because there were so many of these lies, deceitful lies, talking about black people don't have the physiology for certain sports. Black people, bone density too heavy, they can't swim. It's so many lies, you know what I mean? And it's lies perpetrated by systems that didn't want people that look like us to compete and beat people that look like them. Now that's changing, and our youth, our Trinidad and Tobago youth, has a big part in that, and we have so much talent, We need to go out there and find them. In the bush, little corner somewhere, you know what I mean? If there's no taxi going up by you, that means we probably are real talent there, and we just don't know because nobody looking. So that's how I see what is really the bigger challenge. It's not so much the challenges of the past. We've passed that. Let's make sure that that stays in our rear view and we never forget it and never repeat it. But we have so much talent. I think we just take it for granted too.
All right. We have to take another break. When we come back, I want to talk a bit about some of the athletes that you all have identified with that special talent that we could look forward beyond the World Championships to 2020. Who are some of the athletes that you feel you will be seen up there and performing at the top level? Viewers, we'll be right back after the short break.
When
Welcome back, viewers. Welcome back to Scoreboard and ACTN. We talk a bit about the athletes and the performance and everything, but as you said, most of these athletes, they set their program on a 2 or 3 year cycle. We have the World Championship coming up shortly, but I think the bigger picture is 2020. We know that some of our present athletes, they are going down a bit in age. You're not going to say they're getting old, but the maturing, right? Let's look at some of the, based on some of the performance we have seen from the senior champions into the Pan American Games. Let's look at some of the athletes who you feel with proper guidance and training and focus that to 2020 we can say, yes, you know, we're going to have even a stronger team than what we have seen in the past. Let's start with the females.
To be honest, I don't think we have. I think the team that we actually sent to Peru was a mature team, with the exception of Tyra. Everybody is not the first time they made national teams. It's not the first time they competed for Trinidad and Tobago on that level. And to me, that was our oversight, because we needed to, at that point in time, Panams, the CACs, those are the meets that we need to have the influx of the young ones to get their feet wet, to get them used to that type of international competition. And I think we kind of missed the ball on the Pan Am Games.
So you wanted to see a bit more of the
a younger one, because we have quite a few athletes that are in the collegiate system, and probably, let's say, for whatever reason, the season was really long, because collegiate system starts from, in most cases, December, January. When you're coming on to August and you've been competing that long, your body tends to be tired, or whatever the case is, and I understand that, but I think it would have been beneficial to say put Akila Lewis on the 4x1 team, or put Shaniqua is very young. Shaniqua Bascom, she's out of Cougar. She's very, very young. She's only 15.
15.
Yeah, but I find she's so powerful.
But yes, and I think in a situation like that, even if you had just taken her for the relay.
Is it that we were focusing more on winning the medals?
Yeah, I think we were more performance-based and medal-based, as opposed to developmental, seeing the developmental potential for these athletes. And I think that is something that needs to be changed. While the women's team was mature, the men's team wasn't, because you had Jared Alcop, you had Akani Hislop, and you saw the benefits of having these two young guys.
Dennis really spoke about those two guys before.
So in that sense, that the men, they get the ball, they actually get the younger ones on the team, and Akani and Jordan school. So why we couldn't have some younger athletes, younger female athletes take part? And it's showing that we've been through the cycle too, unfortunately. Where I remember for a couple of years while I was the oldest member of the team, and at that point in time, Kellyanne was the baby, Wanda Hudson, Moody Cabral, Fana Ashby, those were the young upstarts. They were just out of college, so they had the youth, they had the fresh legs, and you see our sport, the women's track and field started to thrive at that point. We would performing better, we were breaking national records every time we stepped foot on the track. Everybody had a PB or SB every time we step out there, so we were seeing the development. And then I semi-retire. Kellyanne is getting older. Fana is no longer in the sport. So you're going through the cycle, and it shouldn't be this way. Kellyanne shouldn't be the oldest member of the team anymore. Kellyanne shouldn't be the, you know what I mean? It's really hard, and I think that needs to be taken into consideration too, because what is good for the men could work just as well for the women, and that has always been the issue for me from years now. So that, I think that is something that we really need to keep an eye on, so we wouldn't fall behind and had to do a whole new recruiting guy. So now we had to wait until Shaniqua was 18 before we could decide to come on a team.
And then we're playing catch up.
Yeah.
You know, I think part of the challenge with our youth development program is that if you look at the Carifta Games team and the process of getting to Carifta Games, those kids are like rock stars. They get the best treatment. They get a whole box of new gears. They have that trolley bag, and you know, there's this thing, you know, full Puma kit.
Full kit.
You know what I mean? When they come out, they come out. You know what I mean? The downside of that is there's a sense of accomplishment that goes with that we see making the team is more important than winning over in Carifta.
Okay.
And from a national point of view, we want to be competitive, because if we send a smaller team, the critics gonna say we didn't qualify here, we didn't send nobody here, we didn't and they talk, and from Sheriff name gonna call in everything, because he's the guy, and he is the man in front of the 8 ball, right? The fact though is, we want to be competitive against Bahamas, we want to be competitive against Jamaica, we want to be competitive at Carifta, because look at the 4x4 man, they won at Carifta. You know what I mean? They've been winning internationally at that level since those youth days. So you want to say we've been planting those seeds since Carifta. If we look back and project ahead of this Carifta team, who are we going to see? People like Akila, who she mentioned there. They were very good. They didn't win. Shaniqua won. When you look at that generation here, I think we have a lot of promise there. Shaniqua, Akila, Isla Sanslaws, that's quality. Any program would want to have kids like that in their system. So it's not like if we don't produce the talent, the Badal sisters, they didn't really come from Trinidad and Tobago grassroots, but they definitely have our DNA in there, So when we go project those things forward a few years, 10 years, 2 Olympiads from now, we're going to see that talent come out if they stay in the sport. Of course, that's a big issue too, because you see a lot of college kids come off and they get a degree.
And that's
it. Track and field ain't easy.
I think a lot of things go into that too. I find it's a very disturbing trend where you have a lot of young athletes getting hurt.
That's
and 9 times out of 10, it's not necessarily something that the coaches may be doing or that the athletes themselves may be doing, but 90% of the time it's just growing pains. So you have an athlete who is developing mentally, physically, and then putting all the kind of work close to world-class effort, training type sessions, and then when they get hurt, it's like mommy and daddy had to find the money to get the therapy, and therapy is not cheap. So I think that is a factor that tends to play that people don't really pay attention to. So when you think an athlete is done, well, it's like, he stopped running, no, he was hurt and he just couldn't come back in time for a curve to come back.
Look at Marshall Sudan in that heat. He slowed to walk. If he was catching a maxi, that maxi gone.
But I was trying to find out what caused that, because I mean,
he felt a tweak.
Okay.
He knows he had to take care of heat, so he wasn't playing.
Because he came back.
He need 4x4. And that's another thing too. we so performance-based minded. Like we were like, well, we ain't had nobody qualify in the 100, so we ain't sending no 4x1. That don't make sense. 9 times out of 10, especially at Carifta level, there's no qualification standard for a relay. You can get the 4 people who compete, the first 2 in the 100, first 2 in the 200, and put a relay together. To me, that,
let them get the experience.
Yes, that will be so much more beneficial when it comes to the next year. So they'll be a little bit more hungry. They'll be like, all right, so you know how hard it is for an athlete who is truly in the element to sit down and watch a race and doing that. I could have been in that race.
Come some issues with that one. And this year, Carifta, let me not talk all of that. Let me just say, a full plane is an expensive thing to do. A full plane of people, because the Carifta team is our biggest team in any sport, right? Even if you look at a football team going on, a rugby team, it's still not as many people going out there as a track and field team for Carifta. It is a big contingent. So that has logistics issues and, of course, money. We need to look at other sources for money. It can't just be state enterprise. It just can't be Ministry of Sport. We have companies here doing billions of dollars. You know what I mean? And if one brand ain't work, they throw away that brand, they pick up a next brand. And it's money spending, but they just don't spend it. You see, I mean, powerboats racing ain't cheap. You see how many, we have more powerboats of that top class than any regatta.
That's true.
In the world.
That's true.
Why? Because Chinese have money, and that was always the case. Let's put some money
where it would be
I like track and field. I like cycling. I like archery. There are things that I like. So if I had $1 billion to play around with, you know where the money was going.
And I think now that you're seeing the performance in track and field over the years, it should give corporate Trinidad and Tobago some sort of, let's get involved because they produce.
You see them morning DJs on FM when they drag the flag. I calling them out. Morning radio DJs are the biggest, most toxic element in Trinidad and Tobago sport because if we don't win, bye. You see AYANNA on this morning? Yeah, boy. She look good now. She ain't boy.
And funny enough, just the other day,
no, to be honest, I find that some of them morning programs, it don't make sense.
They don't highlight unless it's like the news break where you have the reading the news for literally 60 seconds. That's when you will hear a highlight. Well, we won in this meet and won in that meet or whatever. I was
ask them about any EPL football though. They know it. They know the whole squad. Yeah. Ask them one hard question. When last you went to a local sport meet? When last you pay for a ticket? When last you buy a barbecue for athlete raising a fund? So
I actually had a member of the media ask me, well, she put it to me, she's like, well, all they don't tell us when all they're running and all they don't tell us. And I'm like, but most of the times we are individual athletes, though. Our athletes ain't going to have no press release to say, well, I'm going to be competing in the World Championships in 2 weeks' time.
But if you have a sports department, they're supposed to be up to date with events because
I to see some of the issues, right?
Because I said definitely the media. I actually went to school for this, right? So I know, and I went to school doing trying to be I want to be in communications. I want to be the next big Dave Lamy because that was my thing. But I realized the media has such a huge role to play in how well known these athletes are. It don't make no sense that.
That's why I think I mentioned that to you when the Indian Premier League cricket was going on. I mentioned that to you. During every break, there is an ad. And every ad is with one of the Indian cricketers, Dhoni and this one. So these athletes, you can't forget them because they're in your face, right? Now, when you watch it, with the exception of Value Optical with Brian Lara, tell me your next athlete who does an ad for a major company in Trinidad and Tobago. Help me. Am I?
Well, you have Blue Waters. You know what I mean? George Bovell has sell plenty water still. Right. Though,
and Atlantic with some of the cricketers. But still, right? Still. That is not.
That's two.
That's enough. Yeah, two. Because funny enough, Nyosha Kane and BP actually has a billboard of Nyosha on the West Road.
Yeah.
So
it's Shannon Tall on that.
On that too.
But
I think
they're the exceptions though.
Too.
Yeah.
That's one.
So
we call three.
Right.
Right. Atlantic, BP, and Blue Waters.
But when you watch now at
NGC is doing a great job. But
you've seen billboards, with one in bikini and a man drinking. You understand? Let's people sit.
Yeah.
But we need to take a break. When we come back, we'll continue. You guys will be right back after the short break. Welcome back. We just have about 13 minutes remaining. They say when you're having fun time, let's go so fast. We heard the news a day or so now that Brianna Williams has been tested, for some drug, some banned substance, right? What's your take on that one? And I mean, at 17 years, it's a pretty young athlete. It's not that she's a seasoned athlete that,
She may not be a seasoned athlete, but she has seasoned people around her. I think they should have advised her a bit more in a situation like that, especially that it's not her first national team where, she's competed at the national championships or whatever, but that was, if it was a mistake, it's going to be a costly one. It was a silly mistake. You have people who are around you who have input into what it is you put into your body. I'm pretty sure she has her coach and her manager and her mom who encourage her to take supplements and all these things to help enhance her performance and get through workouts and whatever the case is. Taking cold medicine, any athlete, any junior athlete, know that's you just don't do them things. You look for the naturalist,
Zeba peak.
Something.
Nobody
something.
never test positive for Zeba peak, my brother.
But do you now? Let's say she gets banned, right? Let's say that she gets banned. This will be, and the other guy, Fraser, what is his name again? Who, when they took the medal from Bolt, who?
Nesta Carter.
Nesta Carter. Is this going to be shining a light? No, Bolt has already retired. But there, there are those up there who always felt that
he was on something.
He was on something, and
for years.
Is this now going to start to swing the finger more to him or to other athletes in Jamaica?
This is all about Brianna Williams.
Yeah.
This has nothing to do with anybody else. I don't like the comparison with Usain Bolt and the questions of the Jamaica doping regime and the possibility of.
But there were those who always.
They always talk about that wild theory, right?
Yeah.
The fact is, you had to catch him, and one other athlete, Christian Coleman. That process is what the governing bodies have agreed to, is the process to catch them. Out of season, random drug testing. So to familiarize the audience with what's going on with Christian Coleman is one of the fastest men out there in the world right now.
But
he's an American
for the 100 meters.
But he has missed three
random drug tests.
Yeah.
But the thing is, I'm not sure if it was 3 random drug tests from one.
It's 1 year.
Testing. No.
It doesn't matter. You see, all of them report to the same system, right? So whether it's 15 different testing agencies, it's one system. You have a phone, you have an app on your phone that tells you can update your whereabouts for a period of time before your test window. It is up to you
to make it available.
We were coming here, and what did you do? You go and say, hey, I might get lost, where to go? It is your duty to inform. So here's a pro. You have manager, agent, lawyer, everybody, coach, trainer, physio, and you. No, he's not on social. A lot of people talking about he's not on social media. He's not a phone peon. So I give him that. So maybe he doesn't have his phone with him all the time, but somebody is.
He must have a manager.
That's what I'm saying. So if you have
if
you have an agent, you have a manager, you have a coach, you have a physio.
Then you have to
These are the people who are in your life on a daily basis. These are the people who will have an idea of what your schedule is on a daily basis. So you cannot tell me that nobody don't know where he is and he leaves training
for
4 o'clock.
3 missed tests in a year.
Forget
it. Yeah. That is not acceptable. So I'm not buying that argument. Brianna, though, who would also have a team, maybe not as fully matured as that team that a Christian Coleman would have, but certainly she is in that range, right? Because there is rumor of her going pro at the end of this season and all of that stuff going on. The fact is, she has a duty to herself. What is going into your body? Your body is a temple, is 10x stronger for an athlete at the top of their game, because you can't allow somebody to give you something before, even if it's whoever it is. The idea, though, that the substance that was found in her flu medication has absolutely nothing to do with flu and is more of a hypertension medication is very disturbing for me, because that substance has come up time and time again with sprinters. Veronica Campbell tested positive for the same thing. She got a blind because of the same argument. It's useless to speculate as to what happened because we weren't there and we don't know. But I would love to see the case file on this. What time frame? When did you ask for this therapeutic use exemption. I've heard that. I don't know if it's true. It's a rumor that's out there that they asked for a therapeutic use, a TUE, for that medication that she took for the flu. And how come that medication had to be tested and it shows up that it has contamination from other things? How did it get contaminated? Is the manufacturer going to say that, yes, we produce this hypertension medication as well as this flu medication, which doctors are warned do not mix the two because it will be drowsy? I'm not buying it. So how did that happen? I would love to hear the drug manufacturer make a statement on that before I could say anything. Because it's like, if you're saying you're going down by the punch man and you get some banana in your peanut punch, that's normal, right? But if you get punching in your peanut punch and your peanut punch test positive for punching contamination. How that happen? I want to know. Punch guy, how did punching get in my peanut punch? I could understand beetroot, soursop. I could understand
because all those things.
Because all of that in the punch. But so for me, that's a question. And to me, not enough people, because you have two camps, either people who don't like Atto or people who so in love with Brianna. So the bias in coming out of Jamaica is a bit, it's going to be very hard to really sift through all the details. But let's see what happens. I'm really rooting for the young woman because she's a really nice kid. She's clearly working hard like a beast. And you know, I would love to see that whatever it is happen, there's a reasonable excuse for it, and we can move forward from here. But if not, well, you have to take your time.
Now, you said Veronica Campbell had tested for the
same compound.
And she was given a blind.
Yeah, so because of the same argument.
I think she was on some medication, though. That,
so maybe we can go with the same thing will happen to Brianna.
Well, the team sent a sample of the medication that she took for the flu because she was ill that weekend, as well known. So she took medication for the flu, and it has hypertension medication contamination in it. I don't know, bro.
We just have a few minutes before we end the show. AYANNA, your closing remarks. And are you satisfied with the position of track and field in Trinidad and Tobago where we presently are?
Nah. I mean, the model is to always strive to be better. You know, you can't be stagnant, because at the end of the day, if you're stagnant, you're going to get left behind. So we always want to be improving. We always want to have development. We always want to have progression. We have, I don't want to say a lot of work to do. I've been saying that all season, we have a lot of work to do. But I don't want us to be so far behind that we can't catch up. We need to make some different decisions as far as team selection is concerned, look at different options, look at different ways, different avenues for fundraising and these kind of things. We just need to look outside the box now. We can't just say, well, this has been working for the past 15 years and let me continue working like that for the next 15 years. It had to change. And even though we always, every year or every other couple of years, we see phenomenal junior athletes coming through the ranks, why it is they can't get past the junior level, why it is when they reach the college, you have a serious drop-off as far as female athletes is concerned, why it is we don't have that longevity in the sport that is expected of, especially Caribbean athletes. It's a lot easier for a Caribbean athlete to go pro as opposed to an American athlete coming out to the NCAA collegiate system. Why we so far behind? Why it is we need to change things. Something needs to change. Something needs to improve, because it reached the point that we run in the same bare four, year in and year out. And coming to 2020, I'm pretty sure we're going to have a lot of people transitioning through, like I'm retiring and looking to do different things in their lives, and we don't have anybody to replace these athletes that are going out. So things need to change.
You know, a lot of what the knock is, it always falls back on the administration. I don't think that's fair. I think the clubs, coaches, have to take a lot of the responsibility for fundraising on a micro level, and preparation. I see some things with some athletes, they're going to get hurt, you know? So how do we change that culture? we need to see more money in the sport. We need to see more dedication. We need to see more opportunities created for athletes after they return here from college, both as for their academic as well as their athletic. You know, we need to see people getting the degree. Yes, great, but get a job when you come back home now. You know, so it's a cultural change right now that is keeping us where we're at. I think we've reached the fastest and furthest we can with the current structure, and this is not a knock on anybody, but we need to look forward from here more than look back. Yes, things like what AYANNA talked about can't happen again, but we had to look forward. We had to go past that, and that's really where I see the real need to come in.
AYANNA, thank you very much.
Welcome.
All the time, man. Anytime.
We hope things will change, and we hope to see you winning some medals in the Masters. Yes, we talk about that.
Concord, I'm just saying. Call Fana, make it happen.
Yes.
Say, yo,
things
Fana,
in the works, things in the works. We actually China.
Call Fana.
But we actually have a Masters team in the works preparing for World Championships next year.
I saw your name in it. That's why we'll talk a bit about that when you come back with your gold medal.
Fana, call AYANNA.
Viewers, you have been viewing Scoreboard here on ACT, and we're talking a bit track and field. If you missed any part of this program, there's a repeat tomorrow at 1 p.m. I want to thank my guests and them for passing the Caroni River. You know, that's the hardest position in Tobago to pass, but we thank them for still passing. Yeah, well, I know Dennis always passing. That's one thing, because we're up 868 all over Trinidad and Tobago. So I want to thank him again for coming down. And catch us next week, next Tuesday, same time, where we talk sports again. Have a blessed week ahead.